The Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council, Okupe, has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for breaching the Money Laundering Act. Okupe was found guilty of 26 out of a 59-count charge brought against him by anti-graft agency EFCC. He was also found guilty of accepting cash transactions above the 5 million naira approved by the Money Laundering Act. But Okupe could avoid going to prison, with the judge giving him an option of paying a 13 million naira fine.
Well, let's bring in our Rise News analyst, Dr. Amadi, who joins us now to actually have a conversation about all of this developments, especially as it relates to politics in Nigeria, and also marry that with some law. Thank you, Dr. Amadi, for being here tonight. And I'm excited about the law part because, of course, you are a barrister at law. And I want to start with Okupe. The fact that this case has been on since when he was a former aide of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. Some are wondering about the timing. But beyond all of that, if this judgment had come prior to now, do you think it would have affected his eligibility for the position which he currently holds as the Director General of the Peter Obi campaign?
No, it does not. It does not, because first, I mean, if this is a case of strict liability offense, meaning the law is not interested in the motive. If you listen to the judge carefully, she says that clearly, by the way, he was acquitted in the 31 charges, which borders on corrupt enrichment, corruption, and money laundering, because those he needed to have the National Security Advisor himself also found guilty. And of course, the evidence shows that his offense is that he received more than 5 million naira that's allowed by the act. So it's strict liability. You don't need to be corrupt. You don't need to know what it is for. If you received 5 million, more than 5 million, or 5 million above, then you are strictly liable. And so the judge says, look, yes, you're a man of honor. Yes, he didn't commit any crime. Yes, he didn't know. He didn't go to defraud the country. That's why other charges fail. But you collected cash for the office of NSA. Now, it's like when he was appointed,
without it going through the financial
for the institution, because the act, people commit this crime every day. That's the problem. That's why it's strict liability. You don't have to prove, I know, I don't know. Once you did, you're in. Now, that's why he now, after a locutus and plea for family, he gave him option of fine. And we understand he has paid that fine. Okay, so he may not go to prison. But then, does this tarnish his standing, or will have stopped him from being the DG of a campaign? No. The DG of a
I'm
campaign
even interested in whether it tarnishes his image as the DG of the
that's the point I'm going
campaign.
Yeah, because if you listen to Twitter, or read Twitter, the debate is, obedience claim to be clean guys, but they are saddled with a criminal, quote unquote. But one can argue truly that, look, because it's not an offense, arguably, that relates to corrupt character. You know, we talk about, even the constitutional disqualification for election is if you are found guilty of an offense, a crime, that borders on immorality, corruption. Right. So if you read the judge carefully, it's saying you are not a corrupt person. We didn't find any evidence of corruption. But we found evidence that, knowing or unknowingly, you received cash from the president of it. Say, even if the president authorized it, we don't want to know. The fact that you received cash at your official institution of that volume.
All right, let's move on to other issues.
Wouldn't you say a conviction is a conviction in this instance here? Because you're trying
but not all convictions import immorality.
Right.
For example,
so there's no moral burden here.
Yeah, there's no strong moral burden to say, oh, this guy is leading a party that claims to be a reforming party, but he's actually dishonest, a criminal. On these facts alone, this fact, there is no imputation of criminality of the sort that carries the weight of dishonesty.
And it was important for the judge to
make that clear. And that's why he disqualified him for the rest of those ones that involved real corrupt enrichment. But this one involved failure not to carry more than, if we carry 3 million naira, you would have been safer.
Or 4.999 million.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move to the PDP. Well, according to Autumn, the issues within the PDP are being resolved. But what difference really would it make if those issues are resolved without the Wike issue? You know, clearly resolved? Because, I mean, you have a situation where Atiku has already appointed Adeleke, the governor of Osun State, you know, to really coordinate the Southwest.
Yeah. Makinde, who actually turned down that.
Well, I think two of them, they're not incompatible. First, I think they're being resolved. And by the way, as we narrow towards election, the options are limited for the G5. You know, they either have to support Tinubu or fully work for Atiku of Anobi or the concert. It's possible that down the line, the difference will be split. They split the difference, okay? Maybe Ayu stays, maybe something else gives in. I think they will probably resolve or struggle and end it. But the key point about Adeleke is that, look, it's the right thing to do. I don't think Seyi Makinde is under any illusion that Atiku camp expects that he's actually coordinating Southwest campaign. So what they have done is to formalize what is actually de facto. The fact that Seyi Makinde is not really coordinated because of the stance of the GG5. So now you have Adeleke, who won election handily, who is strong on ground. So naturally, now does that compromise? Does that show that if you listen to Wike's statement and now Otom, it looks like they are not worse than they were before. They probably are better. We've seen de-escalation of rhetoric. We've seen the fact that nobody's abusing anybody. So somehow they might be closer to a settlement. But will it happen? Well.
That's the concern, because let's not forget the elections are just about 2 months away, and it goes beyond even Seyi Makinde. Looking at the Southwest in particular, we do know that Ayo Fayose is also, toeing the same way. Even the current 7th Senator Olujimi, she's also not working for the Atiku campaign movement. So how do you think this would actually affect the Atiku presidency, especially looking at what happened in 2019?
I think what's happening in the Southwest is that Atiku is not playing to win Southwest. I think he's playing to be competitive. And so with some other people who are also with him, some of the senators, some of the other party leaders who are with the ticket, what they're going to do is, look, there's no perfect word, is to split the difference. Okay, we have lost X, B, and Y. Can we get B and A? Now, so yes, these guys are important. Those losses are lamentable and regrettable. But the point is that at this point, giving Adeleke a major role is the wise thing to do, because it
even
enables
as the
him.
Newly sworn in governor.
Yeah, the point that he's a governor.
Yes.
Newly or not so, access to resources, access to structure, access to people. So he's coming out there to play that role, which Makinde is not going to play, because they have signed off, is the right thing to do at this point. So I think Atiku loses nothing by getting him. Now, it does not contradict the search for common ground. It simply puts a formality to what is clear, that these 5 governors are not pulling their string and are not coordinating for Atiku. It does not mean that they're going to go all out to sabotage him, but it simply means that at the level of formality and reality, someone has to do that job. Now, but you keep engaging, and I think that engagement is critical.
The issues in Imo State, still the PDP crisis, I mean, do they really matter? Samuel Ayamu says, it's just, some people having this sense of entitlement that we're trying to...
Really taking a direct swipe at former governor
Ihedioha. Yes. And, in the same breath, you want to talk about Tinubu meeting Labour. Yeah.
I think Tinubu meeting with Labour is a good move. I mean, at this point, you should have to balance between rallies and focus group and contact group. Tinubu needs, Labour is a strong base, so to say, on the paper of PP2B, because the Labour Party is an offshoot of the Labour movement, even though they are somewhat strange at times, So Tinubu talking to these guys is a smart move. First, his policies has some sound of what we call the governance model of market, which might appeal to some Labour persons, social interventions, bringing back commodity boards. So in a sense, Tinubu's manifesto could read like Labour small pocket book manifesto. So in a sense, that engagement is good. Now, but the question is, the issue that Labour stand for, the ethical shadowing of this campaign, would Labour people have good faith to really come out and pull their support to Tinubu, for example? Again, Labour leaders are ambivalent always, so they're likely going to be in the middle, do this, neither here nor there. So far, I'm not seeing the NLC
They've not really thrown their weight behind the Labour Party candidate.
Even though they are supposed to be formally part of Labour. So that ambivalence, I don't think anything will cure it. They're going to double speak. They're going to be one leg here, one leg off. But back to Imo, I think the real crisis, Imo crisis, is a big one. Big one because two sworn enemies, 2 camps that virtually kicking each other. But it may not affect Atiku's campaign because essentially this is an internal affair, a competition for who controls the party for the purpose of becoming a governorship candidate. What is regrettable is that the party leadership has failed to kind of de-escalate. After these guys, you know what the season is now is the presidential election. You're talking about primaries.
Yeah, it has enough problems at the center.
Well, in all fairness to the PDP headquarters, I do know that the NWC, they had meetings with leaders
issued statements
of the party.
But they have not read them in. We saw the campaign where after post-campaign of Atiku's rally, there has been so much bad blood. So I think it's the party's interest to kind of knock these guys on the head. I mean, the former governorship candidate and governor of the state and the national secretary who have been competing for long. And the national secretary is now boasted by his position. And the former governor is boasted by his control of the party machinery at the state. So this is going to be a titanic battle down the line. But for now, the approach for the PDP would be to try to de-escalate it and say, look, so February is just by. After February, you have the end of February and March to politic and fight. So by the end of the, and by the way, who wins the presidential election might actually restrict the whole game. So I think it's really more than a familiar fight. This is a real fight.
A real fight to finish. Dr. Sam Amadi, I guess that's where we have to leave it today. Thank you very much for joining us, as always, on Newsnight.